This is a discussion on cultivating resilience and flourishing in everyday life. Today we have with us Dr. Suzanne Tuff, who is the principal investigator of the All in Our Family study and a professor with the Departments of Pediatrics and Community Health Services at the University of Calgary. Dr. Tuff is also a faculty for the Max Bell Public Policy Institute. Next to her we have Dr. Zara Clayborne, who is an assistant professor in pediatrics and community health sciences at the University of Calgary and received a PhD in epidemiology and a CIHR postdoctoral fellowship. And finally, we have Dr. Jessica Walsh, an interim program lead of the All Our Families study and has a Master's of Science in Medical Sciences and a medical degree from Trinity College, Dublin, Ireland.
Thanks, Jessica. Thank you. Well, welcome everybody. It's been a long day for those of you that started in the morning, and I'm glad I'm looking out the window, not you, because you would definitely be distracted by this beautiful view in this building. Just to start, this is a secular conversation. So for those of you that came for a spiritual understanding of resilience and flourishing, that's not our expertise. We're going to talk today about work we've done in our research lab for 15, 17 years about how families have experienced difficult times and have made meaning and successful journeys through those times with practical tools that we think that families and service providers can use. So if you get halfway through this and you think this is not what I thought I was buying into, we will understand. And with that, I would like to offer the floor to Zara, who will start us off.
Great, thanks, Suzanne. Great, so here's a general overview of what we'll be discussing today. So first, we're going to talk about how Albertans are doing based off results from the All in Our Family study, and then transition to a discussion about how members of our coalition, from youth feeling disconnected or women feeling overwhelmed, what can be done to help support individuals' resilience and flourishing. And as Dr. Tuff likes to say, we want to move past admiring the problem, and we really want to determine what can be done to help alleviate the issue or problem. And so to identify these potential strategies, we synthesized All Our Families findings, community-based projects that our team was also involved with, as well as really prominent peer-reviewed literature in the area to identify key factors that supported resilience and also help support flourishing. And from the synthesis, Dr. Tuff and our team identified 3 core strategies, which are routines, resources, and relationships. And we've called these the 3 R's. So the underlying physiology behind the 3 R's is that these strategies really help mitigate our fight or flight response from our sympathetic nervous system. And it balances by promoting resting and healing with our parasympathetic system. Less activated stress responses, as we know, help support our well-being, helps us feel good about ourselves. We have more life satisfaction and we're able to enjoy things easier. And over the next few slides, I'll discuss what each of these 3 R's are and how each of them help support our resilience and can help us with flourishing. But first, I just want to quickly mention, we do recognize the importance of nutritious food, exercise, sleep, and meeting basic needs for supporting resilience. And the 3 R approaches supplement and support these strategies. So first, routines. Routines, and in some literature it's referred to as habits, are actions or thought processes that we regularly follow and repeat. They're frequently used, sometimes even daily, with common tasks or duties, and they can be celebratory or ritualistic as well, so celebrating a birthday each year, or getting together for family meals every week or every month. And a key component of routines in literature is that there's 3 real components, so it forms a pattern. There's cue, action, and reward. And the reward in many of this is that we feel better, the task is accomplished, or maybe we've made a connection. So for example, a common family routine is that we help our children or adolescent with their homework or reading before bed or maybe even before dinner time.
So the cue is, for example, an hour before dinner time. The action is reading or helping with homework, and the reward is helping your child or adolescent with school-related skills, and strengthening your relationship with them is kind of a nice bonus. And based on literature, routine or habit stacking has been identified as a way to help incorporate habits into our daily routine, our daily tasks and routines. So, for example, after we tuck our kids into bed at night, we can set out our clothes for the next morning. It's one less decision we have to make that next morning, and we also don't know what's going to happen overnight. So, why do they work? Routines help maintain structure, and they help us feel organized. They help us use time efficiently, and they reduce the need for making new decisions. This really frees energy and brain power so that we can make more important decisions. And it ultimately helps us reduce what we call decision fatigue, especially when we're stressed. So decision fatigue can result in impaired thinking, it can impair our memory, it can change our behavior, we can make reactive decisions which maybe aren't the best decision at the moment. Good routines are protective for positive mental health, and they can provide opportunities for support, and we can even build connections. So for example, maybe we love coffee, so a routine of going to grab coffee before work. We get to know the barista, who gets to know us and our drink, and maybe we can connect with others in our community and creates a better sense of belonging in the area. And in addition to this high-level overview of evidence, I wanted to share some specific examples. So a systematic review and meta-analysis in 2024 looked at daily routine discrepancies and disruptions and mental illness that occurred during the COVID-19 pandemic. They found that with these disruptions, depressive symptoms, anxiety symptoms, and distress were much more likely. On the positive side of things, the qualitative study of routines in families with adolescent mental illness is that the adolescents perceived the routines provided stability and continuity in their family life, especially during times of stress. So really the two key takeaways is that by adding routines into our life, we reduce this cognitive or brain investment in decision making, which can reduce decision fatigue. This in turn decreases our fight or flight response, and it promotes this balance with this rest, digest, healing part of our bodies and minds. So it's the second R. This is resources, and in the context that we're referring to, this refers to communities and other places where we spend our time. And as we know, communities have a very broad definition, so it's inclusive of whatever you think and refer to as a community. So where we live, where we work, other groups or people who share interests or culture or faith. Communities also consist of what we term third places, or surroundings that differ from our home environment and our workplaces. And these third places are where we can meet and are able to create companionship and provide emotional support for ourselves and others. Resources can also include opportunities and events within our communities, which allow us to build knowledge and skills, such as exercise groups or civic engagement opportunities, faith-based groups. And there's quite a list on here just to give you an idea of the sort of breadth of potential opportunities. So participating in our communities can enable skill development. It can become a way for us to meet new people, to learn and connect with others. By engaging in our local resources, such as greeting our neighbor or participating in a community barbecue, which are coming up right away here, I think. It builds knowledge about our environment. It creates a sense of belonging and even a sense of safety. And activities that bring us together on common issues also create a sense of empowerment. And the sense of belonging and sense of empowerment in turn creates a feeling of connection, which can give us a sense of purpose as well. All of these experiences together help release what we term feel-good hormones, so oxytocin and dopamine and endorphins. All these hormones or neurochemicals actually help us feel good with all of these different interactions and engagements in our community. And ultimately, they help support positive health outcomes. So again, just a couple of quick examples of specific literature. So a 2017 systematic review looked at social participation interventions and mental health outcomes. So when I say social participation interventions, they've defined that as mental health services or healthcare providers. They actually work to improve an individual's social network, and they can even help develop social skills. And from 19 interventions, they found that while evidence is limited in this area, social network gains were strongest for those who supported community engagement. So the key takeaway, resources are really key to linking us to experience and supports, which help us participate in opportunities, help us create connections, and it can help us build skills. And this is really a key driver for decreasing our stress response. So we're able to feel healthy, feel better, and it increases release of those hormones and neurochemicals which contribute to those feelings. So now the workshop part of our presentation today. Probably we can do groups of 2 or 3 if you like. It's just to think about what these third spaces are. Do you participate in them, and then why or why not? And so we'll give
have to hand out the workbooks, right?
Yeah, we can hand out workbooks as well here. So I got about 7 minutes once you guys have these.
And I think we have some time, so I'm just going to bridge a bit of a gap for those of you that were listening to Lisa this morning as Jessica hands out the workbooks. So Jessica's been talking about sense of purpose and sense of belonging as outcomes of engaging with resources and routines. And when you remember the maps that Lisa showed of what parts of the brain light up when you have that experience, which she talked about as a spiritualized or transcendent experience, it's the same centers that line up when you have elevated levels of some of these endorphins and oxytocin hormones. So I guess I bring that to your attention because some of the challenges with this interdisciplinary work is not letting the words get in the way of the meaning of what the activity or the opportunity can create. So we talk about it as reducing the inflammatory response. That's one of our key focuses, which also then enables the brain to be more responsive to other opportunities. So just thought I'd put it together while you're getting the book here, since Jessica wasn't able to hear Lisa this morning. So carry on, Jessica.
Yeah, so if you can either do this independently or in groups. Sometimes it's nice to bounce ideas off each other. And then after this, we'll then return back and each group can share kind of an interesting idea from their talk.
Should probably turn around and talk to somebody because it's a good, stay awake. It's 4 o'clock, we're on the home stretch. There we are. It's all automatic. In the whole McKimmy Tower, they said.
We got lots of time, which is kind of nice. I was hoping, and then we have these social snacks and exercise too.
Concerned for my talk on Saturday. It was going to be out of left field for some of the people.
But I think you'll attract the right people. Like I can take a look at it again if you want. But I think.
I'll be there. I can cheer you on. Yeah.
Perfect.
At least one time.
Yeah.
Probably take some workbooks.
Yes, I was thinking you should for sure take the workbooks.
Oh, nice.
Not the presentation, just like the interview.
That's a great idea. Yeah, there's so many things I can do now.
Because I wanted it to be in the same theme as the workbooks. I said utilize the
I like that. I thought that was great, Sarah.
have it like a calming. And I actually took some pretty cool and it kind of stayed in the theme when I asked it to generate more. So
Yeah.
I just able to generate
Yeah, I thought it was good.
some positive.
It had more zest for sure. The last one that you sent was good.
But the first one I just wanted to get in the deadline.
Exactly.
Which one are you in? Do you know?
Somewhere on this one.
This is one. Okay.
You'll
Yeah.
find this one. Like,
We can even give them 10 minutes to talk and then
We've got, we have another one after this,
we got relationships and then the workbook.
but are we doing an activity on relationships?
I didn't, but
Okay.
I have the slide, so I can quickly
Cool.
flip to it if you want to.
Did you go to any other keynotes besides the keynotes, or just this?
Well, there was the 2 keynotes, and then the start of this session, I went to hear Heather Boynton, because she's the UOC faculty that's leading it, and she did one on pedagogy, which was interesting because I guess they're weaving this into some of their social work training.
Okay.
So new world, like new people for sure. And then I came to James's talk, which was on A Course in Miracles, which
That's really cool.
was interesting. And then I went to Sandra's talk. She's the chaplain here at UOC, and she was talking about the intersection of body, mind, and spirit. So as I say, everybody paddling in the same direction using different words.
How was attendance with the other?
About like this, because I think there's 6 or 7, and there's less than 200 people at the conference. So
Yeah, I was hoping to come to some earlier, but there were a few emergencies with students, so I was like, okay, they're getting ready for Monday.
if you can download Lisa's, I think you'd enjoy.
I'm gonna ask.
Just to see how she uses the words.
Yeah, and she has a book out as well.
Yes, I want to get her book for sure, The Awakened Brain.
If I can't make it, at least I want to get that book.
So should we walk around and see how they're doing? They can remember that the resource is their institution, their faith-based institution.
It's hard to participate in spaces that are open. I think people who live there are more know about it because of the outsider. I don't know. Normally one thing happens like after. But the young time too, like not being aware, so you don't feel safe. I live in the environment. Much more than and that could be a from that room that you don't really
Well, they're all talking. That's good.
So I see oh, and then so there's
You're writing notes, yeah, like suggestions.
I thought you guys are doing a good job. No, and I think your sentence is lovely and clear.
That's good.
Oh, the only thing I was going to say, the Calgary Herald article was by the CEO of Vibrant Communities Calgary.
Okay.
So it was a data-based comment, not an opinion.
Okay.
That's, I think I might even have the original article, VCC. Yeah. Megan Reed. I meant to mention that last time, Zara, when we talked about it.
I think that was from my notes.
And then the only other thing, depending on who we're talking to next, is we can think about, of course, all of this is around inflammation, which has become so timely. I can't believe every place I go. But I think there is we could also have a neurologic connection, like why do we want to reduce inflammation? So we can get access to the executive part of our brain.
I think I've got a slide already.
Yeah, I think
so
you do
I'll
for
take
sure.
A look and see if we can use it. If not, I'll use something else.
Because I think depending on the group, like this is mostly social workers, they don't spend much time in physiology and anatomy and all of that.
So, yeah. But I think for any academic or clinical
And the
group,
school board, the same. Maybe we should be able to talk about it from the inflammation and from the wear and tear on the brain piece.
So I think that's the more pressing issue is the brain right now. people know to exercise, and I don't think they realize just when they feel the stress in their bodies, that it's really, it's almost like doubling the impact on your brain.
So
You've already got it, so you're physically
kind of links,
manifesting it.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to look at a couple of Christina Bethel's papers.
I did look her up after you.
Did you see anything interesting?
I like the adopted child. Some of the more popular ones. Do we have something like that?
We asked it one, is it 8 year or
Well, we asked, yeah, I don't, did we ask them? Okay.
I thought we did, or we talked about it anyways.
I
I can
the
check.
mums? I wonder if the youth then. I guess they could.
But I wonder about the youth too. And I wonder how old do the youth have to be for us to do ACEs?
That's a good question. We would probably need external permission, but that could be a sub-questionnaire where they sit down and do it together.
Could be,
So,
just to think about.
yeah.
And then I noticed with her work, when I first went online, everything looked like it was 2014, 2017. But she talked in this meeting about papers that had come out in 2024. So maybe if you saw those.
I guess it's just like if you order it by most cited, so they use older papers.
I'm just going to bring us together.
We're going to ask each group to identify one really interesting or thought-provoking or challenging thought that they came across and share with the whole group afterwards.
So we'll bring you back to the big group. Come back and join us, James. Come back and join us.
In 2 or 3 minutes.
Oh, 2 or 3 minutes? Okay.
I just identify the one.
Yeah.
Sorry, she just started talking when you said you couldn't
Yeah.
hear. Right.
Exactly. It's,
So there's probably have some communities through that too. For your
Squirrels.
oh.
The cats were so excited. It was like right after I had a meeting with Carrie. What's going on? They've never done anything that last year.
tell me about
So I set it back up and I put fake snakes.
A fake snail?
Fake snakes.
Oh, good, good,
I
good.
avoided that, but the hanging nets that I have, I saw that was all messed up this morning, so that was the one that didn't have snakes. Oh, jeez. I'm very sad because my nasturtiums just crashed.
Oh.
My nasturtiums. Like my mother.
We have so many more we have daily several deer coming through our yards.
Yeah.
I don't know how we're going to keep flowers growing here. I'll try.
Rosemary, grow rosemary. They don't like rosemary.
Yeah, and we had success with lavender in the past.
Yeah, lavender's another good one. And the other thing about the notes, Nina DeLacy's talk, which I don't know if AWI will have online, but if we had a list of the risk and protective factors that she found, we could validate it in the youth or the maternal survey and dig into this. Why is getting along with your family a disadvantage? Like, what's the balance between what we're seeing here, so not having an adult to talk about, is that the same or different as not getting along? So interesting, like this distress tolerance idea.
I'm interested as to what not getting along means. Does it mean you just have very strong opinions? Or?
I don't know, and that's why probably in her 1-hour presentation.
But that's really
Good.
cool.
And TikTok, for sure we should be doing, because everybody that had an analysis on youth and adults, TikTok was a high risk, use of TikTok, high risk factor for mental health problems.
Yeah, because
Not-
they're on it for hours and hours and hours.
Like
It's really
the
easy to get
algorithm is
sucked
so
in.
tailored to suck you in.
Yeah. Are you on it?
Yeah, well, not, I
I've
don't
never-
post, I just use it passively because it really, you could find anything on any content. So if you want to have a nicer garden, like my mom, it's just all
Yeah.
gardens.
And gaming content.
Mine is like interior decor.
That's cool.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Come and join us.
Practice my Monday school voice
I
again.
think so.
Okay, so we're going to ask someone or multiple people from each group to kind of share an idea or thought that they wanted to share with the big group. So what about this first group here? What was one idea that you had?
Did we identify something?
Well, we identified a lot of ideas, I think, but we just talked about different resources that we have personally leveraged, which were different at different, stages of our lives, and talked about just how much energy,
We talked about
that
how
gives us with community.
those values change depending on which age group you're in as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really
You're
interesting.
past having your family and so on, right?
Yeah, the different life stages, different groups. I find that very interesting for sure.
And the positive impact of being able to connect.
Yeah.
But then, in my own reflecting, also recognizing my own privilege. And not everybody has the same access, even time, resources, language barriers. So I think that's something to be attentive to in my work as a social worker, that not just because it's great, it works, doesn't mean everybody can access it equally.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, it's always important to know what to take off the list before you put something on the list. Yeah, exactly.
Here.
We chatted about lots of stuff.
I thought, we thought there was an interesting tangle of things, not necessarily mental health, but social skills, social anxiety, trauma, whether people were bullied, and that can really be an impediment for feeling safe and comfortable getting out and engaging with community and resources.
And then we talked about being an introvert versus being an extrovert, and how one group of people might feel really drained or overwhelmed from being in a community or a large group of people, and other people do feel more enlivened by that.
Yeah, our groups actually talked about the introversion, extroversion aspect, and we delved a little bit into literature, and it's kind of a dosing effect. So it's important to engage somewhat to get those health benefits, but it will look different from person to person. But it's important to get out there and not just be like so much of our youth are on their phones now, and just to disconnect. And sometimes community is a great opportunity to do that. But as a fellow gamer, there's also an online community, so there's so many different ways to connect within what feels safe. So that's a really interesting point.
I think we have to be careful too, right? Because if you say you're an introvert, you could almost use that as an excuse not to do things, right? And it's like, this is why, and you're convincing yourself and others.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah.
Our group listed a bunch of third spaces that we thought were places where we go find resources or participate and whatnot. And then we started talking about where we live, and we all live in smaller communities. Our friend here is living in Lethbridge, and I'm in a small military town. And our friend Blessing trumped us all and said we live in a 7,000 community of 6,000. And then we talked about, do we attend any of these small places, these third spaces? Blessing made mention that we attended all, very unconscious. And we had this conversation that could be overwhelming, it could be eliminatory, and Blessing talked about the relationships that you cultivate, and part of it also can go and attend to it.
Because you're all from small centers that are smaller populations, did you have a sense that resources were easier or more difficult to access? More difficult. Yeah.
I think it was because I'm not from there, right? I moved there, so I felt like an outsider. So where it's not really known in the community. I think people who are from there and know about these events, but I know after the fact
that I heard,
this happened and that happened. so you kind of have to go out of your way to find those resources, so it's not accessible.
So when it is difficult to do, now that we've sort of explained about the wellness benefits, does that give you any more enthusiasm about trying to find those resources? Or to create them?
Can I just add to that? I've been in a small community for 17 years, and I grew up in the Greater Vancouver region. But and there's probably equal problems in the city too.
Mm-hmm.
A big problem of it is people have great ideas and they have compassion and they have desire, but they don't always have like the marketing skills or how do we get it out to the people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in healthcare and I try to go to this interagency meeting once a month where I can hear about what's happening. And I swear, like, I'll go there and be like, what? I didn't know this was happening. I was like, I'm a person who wants to know, who's trying to find out, and I still, things happen and I didn't know about it. And so it's just like, how do we support the people who are creating these programs to get the word out, to share about what's happening and build those connections?
I think that's another community workshop that Jessica and I have done before, but I think you're identifying something that is, you're not alone. I was in Vegreville just last week, the same thing, a small community, and how do you attend these interagency meetings so that you can support all of these resource opportunities and avoid duplication as well. Everybody was sort of, how do we launch it and then hand it over to a community to continue to mobilize it.
And I find most people get stuck in they worry too much about the potential of having volunteers or the potential to continue it. So they get stuck in that rut sometimes before they jump in and do it.
We have another talk on risk management because that can be a barrier in urban and rural settings for sure, Karen, for sure. Okay, Jessica, carry on.
All right, so the last component, we'll also have an exercise in a few moments, but is looking at the third R, which is relationships. And just for the sake of time, I won't spend too much time on close relationships, but as we know, this includes our friends, family, romantic partners, and these are really individuals and groups that we can problem solve with and who we celebrate things with. And these close relationships, you would hope, are reciprocal. They can develop over time, and they really bring this sense of meaning to our lives as we share the good times and the bad times. And when we engage in close relationships, we boost these delivery, these feel-good hormones that we keep talking about. And this is really important because particularly oxytocin, it helps reduce the inflammation that we were talking about. It decreases our sense of pain. It reduces stress hormone release, so we don't feel like we're constantly in fight or flight. And it really helps promote this sense of trustworthiness. It helps with a sense of belonging. And it promotes positive social behaviors, which helps us promote us to engage in these opportunities in our communities, like we just discussed about. And this is really essential for building relationships. So real key is that close relationships are an important part of our lives because by engaging in these types of relationships, we increase these healthy hormones like oxytocin, helps improve our mood, ability to problem solve, and it develops feelings of trust and belonging. So now informal relationships. So participating in brief, positive interactions really is an important part of our social diet. These informal relationships include connections with neighbors, community groups, local businesses, mentorship opportunities, and these relationships involve the exchange of knowledge and feelings frequently. They can involve shared experiences, which can really build a sense of connection through these experiences. And these connections, although brief, also release these feel-good hormones. They help build trust, familiarity, and belonging, and over time, these informal connections can become stronger. So an example of this evidence, there was a study from the University of British Columbia that looked at sort of undergraduate students' experiences of these informal interactions, and then well-being outcomes. So students were reported to experience greater happiness and feelings of belonging if they interacted with more classmates in a day. Similarly, students who interacted with more of these types of connections reported greater well-being, and those that didn't have as many close interactions on the day, these brief informal interactions were perceived as stronger. And they felt a greater sense of belonging if they had more of those brief interactions, especially when they didn't have a close relationship. So through some of the community-based projects our team has worked on, we've learned that brief, informal, positive interactions, which we've termed as social snacking, can be an easy way for us to create a connection. So we can smile at someone, chat with someone at the dog park, or just listen to someone while we're waiting in line. You can wish someone good morning or hold the door. Both your brain and their brain release these feel-good hormones, because although even brief, these feel-good hormones decrease our stress responses and our stress hormone, and helps us feel good. And then at a broader community level, social snacking allows residents within a community to feel a greater sense of belonging, which in turn can create the likelihood that these residents become more involved in their community, which then can increase community cohesion and resilience. And this allows communities to problem solve together and to support more vulnerable groups and individuals. So the final exercise is what we've termed social snacking in action. So we ask you to turn to one person beside you and not smile. Now turn to the other person beside you and smile. And do you notice a difference?
So unnatural to not smile.
Yeah.
It's a select group, I guess. Yeah.
So really the key takeaway from this is that when you smile at someone or you have a brief interaction, you get an oxytocin boost and they do. And both people feel better from that interaction.
So if you're an introvert and you're going into a group, just smile.
Just smiling, yeah, or holding the door.
That's it.
Simple little things, yeah. Yeah. So as Dr. Clayborne mentioned earlier about the Kim family, and just to recap, the Kim family are very busy. They have both parents working full-time, one of which is a shift worker, but they really want more family time. And so using the 3 R's, they decide that they would like to read together as a family. And so they create a routine. Even just 10 or 15 minutes before bed, they all get together and read together. Everyone feels less stressed before they go to sleep. And then the next morning, they often talk about what they read together. And they are starting to feel much closer. And with regards to resources, because they need more books now, they're using the community library a lot more. So approaches that help us manage stress, improve our well-being by releasing these feel-good hormones like oxytocin, which in turn reduces inflammation in our minds and bodies. It enhances our ability to make good decisions. It improves our memory and thinking. It supports positive behavior and ultimately helps us to adapt and cope in difficult situations. And through all this, it allows us time and energy to participate in things that are really important to us and ultimately help us flourish. And so now for the last 10 minutes, I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Tuck.
So thank you. So one of the things you saw, can we go back to the last slide, Jessica? So one of the things we heard this morning, we had 2 opportunities to take this work and put it in the language we heard this morning. One is we talked a lot about the breath, and there's opportunities for yoga here, and there's opportunities for connecting through other breath work exercises. You'll see here we have somebody looking like they're doing a yoga pose. Well, yoga or downward dog or breath practices activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the system that makes us feel the rest and digest part, which then enables us to better access executive function for better decision making and better interaction with the world around us. So we've presented material that aligns with how we think of it from a spiritual perspective, but we've aligned it with a physiologic inflammatory response secular perspective. At the end of Lisa's talk this morning, she had us all do a brief breath exercise where we considered 5 people that were meaningful to us and how we felt when we had a sense of belonging, trust, and love with them. Well, that is another expression of what these relationships make available to people in their own community and their own family by activating the very same response system, which enables people to then be more connected to one another in a more authentic way. And so, although we've framed it in a way that we have tried to make it accessible to the broad environment, happy to entertain questions about how this is the same or different as other things that enable us to feel more a sense of purpose and belonging in our everyday life. And I'll just add one more thought. You'll notice when I think Zara was talking about how our youth feel around purpose and belonging. And we have told you that they don't feel that they belong and they don't feel that they have purpose. And then we tell you that they have mental health problems. And so you can imagine in your own practice or in your own community that one of the variables that influences well-being is a sense of purpose and belonging. And we heard this morning from our speakers around how those who feel an affiliation to a spiritual practice or to a community are less likely to experience depression. And so this is not different than that. This is sort of the same opportunity exists around purpose, belonging, and we're wondering too about responsibility, but we haven't tested that yet. That'll be our next survey. So I think from here, was there anything else that Oh yes, okay. So the workbook, you've got a copy. It's our aim of our research team to make this available, and because some of our communities are low resource, it's available at no cost, and we have a research grant that's covering the cost of it. We've done a lot of work with United Way and Big Brothers Big Sisters, and so our passion is to make sure that cost isn't a short-term barrier to the materials. We have postcards here that we will hand out because when we were developing this product, at first everybody says, well, you know, it's an electronic age, you got to make it all online. Well, it's all online. We made it online. We have color online. And then people said, well, it's too expensive to print the color, so we have color and black and white online. And then they said, oh, what if we don't want to know all the science behind it? What if we just want to do the worksheets? So then we have the color worksheets online and the black and white worksheets online, all available with this QR code. And we do have extra workbooks today. If you're in a practice or in a setting where you think you'd like to take more than one, please feel free to do so. And maybe I'll pause there for questions or comments. We'd love to have your feedback around the material or the fit with your work. Mm-hmm.
I have a question regarding your presentation. One of the findings was the youth, I'm trying to remember the word, didn't find spirituality helpful. Mm-hmm. I didn't quite get that. Was it that they didn't solve it out, or they didn't use and didn't find it helpful?
I think it's not that they didn't, we don't know whether they accessed it or not. What we know is that, actually I'll reframe that. Yeah. So about 25 to 30% had some concerns with anxiety or depression. Many of them accessed supports for their anxiety and depression. Of those supports that were accessed, very few were spiritually based.
Okay, so they didn't.
So they might have gone to a psychologist, they might have gone to a school teacher, they might have gone to a friend or a family member. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Thanks for the chance to clarify. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It sounds like you're, is it research surveys, I think one of you mentioned, it's a lot of survey stuff. Mm-hmm. Is there particular demographics that you've touched upon, or is it really as broad as possible?
Right, so it's a population-based sample, so it's broad. Right now, the average age of the women in the study is 44, and our youth are coming up to 15 to 17 years of age. And so we've used the information over time to look at various stages of development, from self-regulation to readiness for school to behavior problems and emergence of neurodivergent tendencies to mother's ability to cope to, of course, the mental health constructs that we've talked about today. And the data is available. If you have a research question you'd like to ask, we'd love to make the data available to you.
That's nice. I got so excited about the concepts I forgot that you had that
diagram
at the beginning about the children and the babies in 2008.
said you had 3,200 participants. Out of those 3,200, like, is that the same number from the very beginning, or did you?
Well, that's a great question. You should always ask a longitudinal person about who did they keep in their sample. And Zara presented the demographics of that for that very reason. We have lost some participants over time, for sure. And the people you're most likely to lose are those who are most disenfranchised. What we do to make sure that our data still applies is describe who's in the sample, but also create mathematical weights so that those who are underrepresented can be more represented when we do the findings. But population-based research is not the best research strategy if you are interested in specific high-risk groups, although we have a high proportion of people who might have diverse gender identity or diverse experiences with immigration and refugee status. If you want to know about those subpopulations, we can give you a glimpse, but it's not the same as being in the ground with one of those community organizations.
And then curious, we learned this morning, we saw that alarming rate with suicide. Have you seen any of that in your study?
I think very little to none at this stage. Yeah, I think not.
That's good.
It is good.
So on the QR code doesn't have access to the actual study itself.
Oh, I have another card for that, but I didn't bring it. But if you get there and if you Google my name, you'll be able to access the website for the questionnaires and the other things that we've published from this study.
Is it this link at the bottom?
Oh,
On the left.
Oh, yes, right here.
there we go.
The connection.
Yeah, the QR code takes you to the workbook. Thanks, Sarah.
And then you were talking about a UBC study with post-secondary. I was interested in that one. Is it in the back of the book, or?
No, it's it might actually be. I'm just gonna pull up.
You can check after.
I'll connect with you after. Yeah. Yeah, I'm interested. It's a really great group at a UBC that have been looking at brief positive interactions, so I can give you that information for sure.
I'll just say I really appreciated your presentation. I work in mental health and substance use. I'm a psychiatric nurse, so it's very familiar to me, everything you've been talking about. And I've raised 4 kids, so I did my own research and resilience in about 2016, 2017, because I was like, saw the world and really wanted to build my children's resilience as best I could. And so it resonated with me a lot of what you spoke about.
Great.
And I'd say, in terms of like purpose and, you know, when we see those life transitions, when I worked with geriatric mental health and people retire, like you see a lot of that loss of purpose and that loss of connection. And, you know, we really try to support in that life stage with very similar approaches.
Thank you.
So you said the population, was it from non-dominant groups? The sample?
The sample represents the demographics of an urban center like Calgary, of which about 70% of them are part of the more dominant population and 30% represent non-dominant cultures.
Did you see a difference?
Oh, you know, we don't, do you remember, Jessica, exactly the differences we see? One notion I want to dispel before Jessica answers that question is people often ask us, well, is this just about economic stability? And we find that we explain more of the concerns that families have based on lack of social support and lack of ability to engage with community than we do because of economic disparity or lack of economic resources. And so it's really challenged us to go against the dominant dialogue that, well, if they just had more money, then they wouldn't have the problem. And actually, that's not what we're seeing. But Jessica, to the...
Discrimination and racism, I think you can maybe speak even more from your early results, which she's presenting on Saturday, by the way.
Oh yeah, come see Zara on Saturday.
Is that it really was a very small difference from those who flourished and didn't flourish based off of discrimination and racism. And that was probably the only indicator that we looked at with regards to race and flourishing.
And food insecurity. And we didn't see much difference with food insecurity.
For those that are statistics, it was like less than 6% of the variance, which is very, very small.
So I'm a military chaplain, and so like we work a lot with this concept of resilience and whatnot. And the challenge that I've been seeing is this lack of understanding of flourishing in our context. So this has been really neat to say, hey, we actually need to start looking at what flourishing looks like for our military families. So
Great.
if you folks, I would throw it at you if you wanted to like expand this research into a demographic like the military. It would be very neat to see
Yes.
3 R's.
Yes.
How they manifest with
Yeah.
the military demographic.
Yeah,
The
for
Department
sure.
of National Defense actually employs quite a few psychiatric epidemiologists because we had a bit of a pipeline for my PhD program. So there are quite a few people at D&D doing that kind of work. So hopefully something.
But we haven't seen anything on flourishing. Like that's the neat difference with this. I think this is the first time I've seen flourishing as a key.
Well, we'd be happy to stay in touch and chat more for sure.
Like, what are the guidelines or restrictions around sharing this?
Share it, use it.
Working with,
Yeah.
our foundation is working with a group of underprivileged, so not the bell curve
Right,
demographic,
yeah.
but to try to enlighten, empower, and inspire
Yes.
underprivileged youth in
Yeah.
Nigeria. And I would love, we're
Yes.
putting together a workshop for one of the communities now as kind of a pilot.
Yeah.
And I would love to incorporate some of this material from the website.
Well, we would.
I wanted to make sure.
Of
that-
course, yes. And one thing, we've been very careful to frame the routines, resources, and relationships as accessible vehicles regardless of your community. So the only thing that would differ, Zara has a grant to redevelop the book for youth specific. The neuroscience isn't going to change, just the examples will be more youth appropriate, or the illustrations. And it would be the same in a culture like Nigeria. The way of getting together around community might be different, but the brain is going to be the same.
What they call youth, we had a conference on Zoom, and we saw these, what we were saying, children, coming into this conference, but then they were saying, college age, high school and college age. So there's this discrepancy between the definition.
Yes, yeah. Well, thank you. Yes, please pick up the postcards, share it, ask us for hard copies if you think that would be of value. And I think we're probably out of time. We've kept you guys past 4:30.
Thank you so much.
Anything else? Happy to. Yes, of course. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate your time today.